We are live.
Good day, folks. Thanks for attending today. We're Finance Committee for March the 6th. We have the roll. Let's see. We have declarations of conflicts of interest. Anything, folks? Let's see, do we have anybody on? There we do. Councillor Van Tilburg, good day. So we have 5.2.1, which is separated because we have some guests here to delegate to that. Let me get a mover and seconder for everything before us. Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Caputo, thank you very much. 5.2.1 is separated. Are there any other separations that members of the committee would like? The chair will be separating 5.3.4. So seeing nothing else, if the clerk could take us to the vote on the remaining items. And read them.
Thank you, Councillor. The items that are subject to the vote are as follows. 5.3.1, fourth quarter casino update. 5.3.2, honoraria and expenses report for 2023. And 5.3.3, mileage reimbursement rate for 2024. And 5.3.5, minutes. The vote carries on a recorded vote of 5-0. All those voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Caputo, Councillor McCreary, and Councillor Van Tilburg.
Thank you very much for that. As I said, welcome, folks. It's your turn to come on up now, Mr. Hall, Mr. Quinlan. We'll receive you as delegation. If you'd like to come forward, you have 10 minutes, inclusive of any question time that you may leave on the table. Proceed when you are ready.
Thank you. My name is Peter Quinlan. I'm the chair of the board of the Brant Community Healthcare System. And first, I'd like to thank you for receiving us as a delegation. And I would like to thank you for the support already provided by the city with respect to a reserve fund already in existence. So with me in the delegation is Carrie Wilson, the executive director of the foundation board, Aaron Sleeth, the interim CEO, Elena Lucas, our chief strategy, quality, risk, and communications officer, and Don Hall, our senior director of infrastructure and development, and all those words. And Don is the project lead on the new hospital. So having said that, I just want to assure councillors that our board and the foundation board are working hard to seek the provincial approvals to keep the steps moving with respect to hospital redevelopment. And Don's going to explain what those steps are and where we are. So, Don?
Great. Thanks, Peter. See if I can get myself live here. Better? There we go. Thank you. And I see I have this here advanced here, so I'm assuming it's going to move the slides for me as I go forward. So thank you again, as Peter said, for having us here today. My intent is just to give you an update as to where we currently are and where the project's going over the immediate next sort of 18 months. So should I be pointing in any direction with this? Oh, there we go. Obviously it's working. So what we'd like to do is just walk you through our current stage of development, which is stage 1.2 in the ministry capital approval process. It was actually the development of the proposal that's before the ministry now. Talk to you a little bit about getting ready for the next stage of development, which is stage 1.3 or functional programming. Share a bit with you about our stakeholder and community engagement, which we hope to do this year, and then ask any questions that you might have. So with that, where are we at? This graphic shows the process that we've been on over the last 18 months and will for the next 12 months. You may recall that because of a strongly written letter campaign here in the city. We received in March of 2022 a capital request approval, and with that, a planning grant to move forward with the new project. In October of last year, we actually submitted to the Ministry of Health and Ontario Health our stage 1.2 proposal. So it's been with the ministry for the last 4 months. And as of mid-February, we received our first comments back from Ontario Health West in regards to Part A of that proposal. And we are looking to meet with the Ministry of Health, the Health Capital Infrastructure Branch, by the end of the month to advance the review of that. Over the next couple months, our intent is to get agreement on that proposal with the Ministry of Health and put us in a position where that agreement will allow us to move forward with stage 1.3, a more detailed functional programming stage for the project. Now I've gone too far. Thank you. In more detail, the submission that was made had both a Part A and a Part B. The Part A was programs and services that described what we would actually be doing in the hospital. And the Part B, which is the part most people are excited about, is what the actual facility development will look like. As I mentioned, we've received response on Part A on the programs and services, which Ontario Health has provided for us. We're actually meeting with them on Monday. Our goal between now and when we meet with the ministry to talk about Part B is to provide an enhanced business case of what we've already submitted. We are anticipating that the ministry, because other organizations within the province, we're getting feedback from them that the ministry and Infrastructure Ontario are looking at the size of these projects, how they're being delivered, and how they can be perhaps packaged differently. So we're preparing ourselves for that. We've also been developing a very robust communications plan and also a government relations and advocacy strategy, because we feel that these requirements need to run tandem with the technical submissions that we're also doing. And so part of that is obviously being here today to speak with yourselves and make sure that you're continually informed on the project as it moves forward. Some of the key approvals and agreements that we need to get immediately. One is an additional planning grant. So the original $2.5 million that we received in March of 2022 will soon be expended, and we need additional monies to move forward. So that work is underway, and we are looking optimistically that we'll get some feedback on that this month as well. The stage 1.2 Part B facility development plan. Again, our goal is to get agreement with that from the ministry and work through whatever options or alternatives that we need to implement in order to get that agreement. And then the final piece, item 3 here, is really an approval to construct. This is a government approval that is not really related to the technical submissions that we've made, but rather a argument, probably wrong word, but a request of the government to carry the project forward in their annual budget planning cycle. That the project would be recognized as a project that needs to move forward. They would allocate funds to it. And our goal is that in the budget that will happen a year from now in 2025, that our project would be actually approved or receive that government approval. So there's a series of steps that are shown here in this diagram that we have to undertake in order to get us there. By April or August of this year, rather, we should have that agreement with the ministry in order for them to tie this into the annual planning cycle of the government. So that's a key thing that we hope to achieve this year. As I mentioned, the next step to the project by getting the agreement on the proposal that we've submitted is to move forward with stage 1.3, or what's referred to as functional programming. This stage of development, again, is broken into 2 parts. Part A is really, again, the programs and services. And this is a really deep dive on everything that we need to develop from a program and service point of view, which also dictates the overall volumes of those services, the square footage of space required in order to build those services. And then Part B, again, would be the physical solution to that. That work we see going from this summer until late 2025. And at that stage, we would be submitting again to the ministry, looking for their agreement so that we would then move into stage 2, which is the detailed planning. And that's where we would get involved with Infrastructure Ontario. The other piece of the stage 1.3 work before we move forward with it later this year is continued community engagement. So we're putting that plan in place. This is really to validate the community's needs, and that will happen across many spectrums. We want to develop an overall project vision. Again, we want the input from our municipal and our regional governments, as well as the communities that associated with both. We'll look to develop more detailed programming and planning parameters for the facility, and this will be utilized during that functional programming stage. And then finally, we have a whole series of design reports that would need to inform this functional programming as well. An example of that would be an urban design report that we would work with a consultant to develop, and they would work, of course, with the city and the region to determine what their urban planning requirements are. You know, how does this project fit into what the vision of the city is, and the region? So that was just an example of one of those design reports. Strategic readiness plan is really our organization, the hospital itself, making sure that we're prepared to continue to advance the work on the project, that we've resourced ourselves accordingly, and we have the right people in place to do the work. And of course, our municipal partners. The municipalities, of course, as you know, regulate all the land planning requirements. We're going to need permits from you. So some of that work's already been initiated with some of your staff, but we will be engaging your staff further as we move forward. The Ministry of Health, Infrastructure Ontario requires the hospitals to attain all the planning approvals. They don't do that for us. So our relationship with yourselves in order to make sure that happens is going to be critical to moving the project forward through the various stages that we will be subjected to. And finally, the municipality's participation in the community engagement that we want to do over the next 12 months is going to be critical as well. And so look forward to that. But just a bit more on this stakeholder engagement. So it is a requirement of the Ministry of Health. It's part of the capital planning and approval process. So we have to actually do this. And this is a matter of educating, informing, consulting, and involving, collaborating with as many members of our community as possible so that we have all the input required in order to make sure the hospital is what it needs to be for the community. We've identified already a whole series of folks. I'll quickly show you who's been identified to date, but that's not an exhaustive list. Finally, you know, again, the community engagement process, the outcomes need to be tracked. We need to submit that as part of our next stage of development. These are a series of the groups of people. I won't go through them in detail. You'll see yourself in there and other members of our community as well, and what part of that community engagement plan you will participate in. And with that, I'll open the floor to any questions.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for the presentation. We've actually exceeded our time, but with the leave of the committee, I would suggest that we allow them to stay here and we can answer, they can answer questions and comment through our debate period, if that's good. Okay. So moved and seconded on the floor. Speakers, questioners, Councillor Sullivan, did you have your hand up to go first? Okay. Councillor Caputo, did you have your hand up to go first?
The rules,
Oh,
but we'll address it at debate.
we're in debate.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Great presentation, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll go to the question then. 521.
Item 5.2.1, quarterly reserve and reserve fund update, carries on a recorded vote of 5-0. Councillors voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Caputo, Councillor McCreary, and Councillor Van Tilburg.
Again, thank you for coming today. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the festivities if you like, or you could beat a hasty exit because we have concluded debate, and it's a mark of an excellent presentation when there are no questions. So again, thank you very much for that. The only other item we had separated was 5.3.4. Are there any speakers to 5.3.4?
Yes, there is.
Go ahead, Councilor, please.
Okay, so just looking at the table. Just gotta big it up. It's 2023-117, which is Ada and Palmerston. So the amount requested or the amount put forth is 490. Where am I here? 497,847. That does not include Ada Road, though. We just had a meeting on that the other day, and we are moving forward with Palmerston to get that done in the next 2 weeks, but there's an additional $472,000 needed to complete Ada, which hasn't been put in the 2025 budget. But I have requested to see if there's an opportunity to be able to put that into this year, since we're already there on Palmerston. We're literally going over 50 feet to do Ada Road. I don't know if we have reserves or if there's anything that could be done according to that, or if it had to be something we bring into council. But we're already wrecking that entire area between Palmerston, Ada, the bridge. We might as well do it all at once. So I don't know if there's anything, if someone can just, Joelle, if you can answer whether or not that was funded for both, or if it is just for the one.
Through the chair to Councillor Caputo. I'm not sure the specifics of this particular RFQ and whether it included both, but Robin may be able to answer. Oh, Indy's poking in as well. Maybe I'll let him speak and then I'll follow up if we need to after that.
Through the chair. So the initial project was for both. The design has been done, the tender was issued, and the price came in much over budget than we expected. For that reason, we wanted to move forward with what we have in the budget, which was enough to do Palmerston, and Ada was pushed into the 2025 budget for construction. Now, through our discussions, Councillor Caputo, we can take that back as advisement just to see if there are funding availability somewhere, and if we can move that. But again, the contract, I believe, has been awarded. So this would be a complete change in terms of the scope. So the team is going to take this back, and we can always provide you with an update on what we found.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other hands raised. Indy, let me ask, are you still there? Temporary air conditioning, Civic Center, was that a rental of equipment?
To you, Chair. Yes, that's right. So we've seen some delays in the train contract in terms of some of the electrical and the steel. So what we've done is we've this may be from the last year, but just for the committee's knowledge is that we've actually secured them now as well, just to ensure that we have that air conditioning in place just in case the playoffs start and we're still getting the permanent units in place.
Thank you. Excuse me, two design projects at Gretzky Golf Course, the maintenance building and the lawn bowling facility. Do you have an indication of when the construction would start on those two projects?
Sorry, Chair, the lawn bowling and the...
Yeah, one is the lawn bowling and the other is the consulting design for the maintenance building and yard.
Right. So I'll have to pass that to Jen. I know we have started the design on these. If we're breaking ground this year, I'll have to pass that over to Jen. She's online as well.
And do you know, you probably don't know, because it doesn't look as though it might be in your wheelhouse. Excuse me. Palo Alto Managed Detection and Response Services. Anyone know what that's about?
I believe that's our Okta, but I'm not 100% sure. Joelle?
Yeah, it is a IT services contract. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Any further comment on this one? Questions? Okay, let's Oh, Counselor Van Tilburg, my apologies. Your hand is the same color as your background. Go ahead, please.
That it is. I might change that in the future. Yeah, Indy, is not the work on Ada and Palmerston virtually all cosmetic?
To you, through the chair, so it's not all cosmetic in the sense that we can just put up a fence and whatnot. There is some curb and asphalt work that needs to be done, especially in Palmerston, to ensure that there's appropriate turnaround that needs to be done. To get into the real details of it, Jen, maybe you can jump on to state some of the changes to the road right of way that need to be done in terms of drainage and whatnot.
Good afternoon. Through the chair to you, Councillor Van Tilborg. It's to corroborate with Indy Hans. There is curb work, asphalt work, as well as catch basins that need to be in place to ensure proper drainage for the closure, the final closure and cul-de-sac of Palmerston.
And at Ada Ave, is the work significantly the same split for between cosmetic and what you'll have to do as functional?
Yep, through the chair. Correct. You are correct. It is similar work on Ada as well as on Palmerston. So curb work, asphalt, catch basin work as well. There's hydro pole relocation, signage, decorative fencing as well going in.
Is there any cuts that we can make to some of that cosmetic additions then on Ada if they want to try and get that through this year? Because quite frankly, I mean, this was all just an ask by a street and the councillors, and it's $1 million. It was always going to be in the $1 million range, which is quite significant for a street. I always think that if you want to, you should pitch that to the street and say, do you want your taxes to go up instead of the rest of the community? So if we've got something here that you had to actually split because the costs were high, is there an area there where we can do the functionals and make it work? And maybe reduce something on the cosmetic side if the councillors wish to get it in for this year.
So through the chair to you, Councillor Van Tilborg, it could be like Ada would be left as with the concrete barriers for this year to then be put into the 2025 budget to seek approval for the full closure with the cul-de-sac of there. To remain as it is today, there is not appropriate turning radius, even a 5 or 8 point turning radius for our garbage collection vehicles, our snow plows, things along those lines. So in order to be properly closed, it does require a cul-de-sac. However, it has been operating for a few years in this scenario with just the concrete Jersey barriers.
So could a contractor do those physical modifications at the same time and maybe save us some money on this side of it for this year because they are right there?
So there is some slight economies of scale for the contractor to complete Ada and Palmerston together. The pricing that we have received is in with the assumption that they would be doing that together. So we will see some slight increases of costs if we were to retender out just Ada on its own.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no further interest in, you gonna go again, Gino? Go ahead, please.
All right, so just on Ada Road in Palmerston, basically we got barricades up and it kind of looks like a war zone, to be honest with you, and be something down like that. So to do the work properly, which is what I anticipate doing in that area, let's do it proper, let's do it right, and let's give it a nice aesthetic look. I understand, Councilor Van Tilburg, what you're saying about that, but at the end of the day, we need to get emergency vehicles through there. They need to be able to have a turnaround, and it needs to be done accordingly. So as much as I don't like spending $1 million on stuff either, let's just do it properly, and hopefully we can get it in this year. If not, then we'll have to wait till next year, but the sooner the better.
We shall go to the vote.
Item 5.3.4, quarterly status report of contracts awarded. Sorry. Carries on a recorded vote of 5-0. All those voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Caputo, Councillor McCreary, and Councillor Van Tilburg.
We have no resolutions before us, no notices of motion. Thank you for your attention and attendance. We are adjourned, folks.